All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Blount County Legislative Body is now in session with the Honorable Jerome Moon, Chairman, presiding. All persons having business with this honorable commission, draw near, give attention, and you shall be heard. God save the United States of America, the state of Tennessee, and this honorable commissioner. Leading us in prayer tonight will be Reverend Kenneth Carpenter, pastor of Apocalypse Church of Maryville. Will lead us in prayer.
Would you bow your heads with me? Lord, we are told in your word that in all our ways acknowledge God, and God shall direct our paths. We acknowledge our need of you this evening. The men and women seated before me, bless them with strength for their bodies and minds. We ask for your guidance, Almighty God. Continue to smile upon Blount County. Bless our officials and its people. We pray, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
Boy Scout Troop 442 will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Y'all may be seated.
Good evening and welcome to the May 17th Blount County Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to thank Reverend Carpenter for this evening's prayer. And on behalf of the Commission, the Chair thanks Boy Scout Troop 442 for the presentation of colors. This time I'd like to read the safety announcement. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe, effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles. At this time, if the Commissioners would rest your presence by voting yes. Mr. Clerk.
18 present and 3 absent. You have a quorum.
18 present, 3 absent. This time, the Chair will stand for motion to set the agenda. Commissioner Wright. Second by Commissioner Farmer. Discussion. Vote yes to set the agenda. Vote no not to set. battery, Commissioner Harrison.
You have 18 yeses.
18 yes, 0 no. The agenda is set. Moving to agenda item B, the consent calendar. Chair will stand for a motion to approve the consent calendar. Commissioner Carver, Commissioner Lael. Discussion on the consent calendar. Seeing no lights, vote yes to approve the consent calendar. Vote no not to approve.
You have 17 yeses and 1 abstain.
17 yes, 1 abstain. The consent calendar is approved. Moving to agenda item C, public input on items on the agenda. I see Ms. King, Ms. Monroe, Ms. Ross. Your name, sir?
Rick Beatty.
Mr. Beatty. Your name, sir?
Brett Durr.
Mr. Deere. The lady next to you? Pardon me? Ms. Ross, Ms. Miller, excuse me. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Martini. Yes, sir.
Ken Monarch.
Monarch. Mr. Grossjohn? Ms. Monroe, if you'd please come forward, please.
No taxation without
Ma'am,
representation.
Ms. Monroe, for those who don't know, if you'll give your name.
Oh, I'm Tawny Monroe, District 7. No taxation without representation. These words are a mantra to Americans. A war was fought over it, among other things. It is a foundational principle of the American way of life to have elected representation for the taxes that we the people pay. The Smoky Mountain Tourism Authority creates a board with 70% unelected members. Why do you wish to violate this foundational principle that our founders fought and died for? Currently, you have the authority to spend this tax revenue. With a huge budget deficit coming up, which will require a massive tax increase, why would you waste 70% of the hotel tax revenue when you can use it to prevent a property tax increase? No one has bothered to explain to the people why this tourism authority is needed. What problems are you trying to correct? Or is this good old boy politics? Many of you are probably disgusted by Obama's crony capitalism slender scandal. Why would you do the same thing in Blount County by handing over 70% of the hotel tax revenue to private business owners who will be able to promote their own selfish interest? This commission is all Republican, and Republicans claim to support free market principles. Yet this authority will allow private business owners to pick winners and losers in the tourism industry. Why not let the free market work? The government has no business running the tourism industry. The free market can and should. Italian fascist corporatism provided the basis for a tyrannical government that we fought another war over, among other things. In essence, this tourism authority has at least two elements that Americans have given their lives to stop. Through wars, Americans have defeated no taxation without representation and corporatism. Therefore, I ask you, why do you ignore American history and dump these same tyrannical policies in our own backyard? Many of the people who fought opposing taxation without representation and crony capitalism would consider this tourism authority to be un-American. Mr. Chairman, Blount County does have an Agenda 21 problem, but it's not coming from the United Nations. It's right here in this courthouse. The agenda of 21 commissioners can install fascism in our own backyard. I urge you to defeat Blount County Agenda 21 by rejecting this dangerous, un-American fascist tourism authority. Thank you.
Ms. King.
Thank you. I'm Linda King with Citizens for Blount County's Future. And first off, thank you for your support at the agenda meeting of resolution condemning Agenda 21. For your information, the mayor of Union County just rescinded their support from the 5-region plan ET. Good for them. Now I'd like to address the facts regarding the new tourism authority, which is being voted on tonight. While speaking with the commission chairman, he stated that it's nothing new, just a few more people being added to the board so that the cities can have input into expenditures. The truth is, this tourism board is vastly different. It not only adds more people, it adds private individuals who are unelected by the citizens to decide how tax money should be spent. Do you really believe that they won't have their private business interests in mind? Socialist UN Agenda 21 recommends putting non-governmental people in charge of community affairs. That way, the people have no way of petitioning their government for dealings which they feel are corrupt. The agencies do not report to the governmental body and are therefore unaccountable to the people. Their financial records are not made public. Remember what happened in Knoxville? This tourism board will have the authority to take loans, and contrary to what's being stated, if they go bankrupt, the citizens will be held responsible for their debts. Just check into similar circumstances in other states where this has occurred with non-governmental agencies. In addition, not only can they issue bonds, they can do so for longer periods of time than we recommend for county debt. Of a greater concern, if that's even possible, is that the tourism board will have the power of eminent domain. How can you vote to give that right to individuals who are not elected by the citizens? Why would you vote away your authority to approve or disapprove of important issues in our county? Weren't you elected to serve the people? This tourism body was not. Please vote no to validating this agency and hold on to your authority and independent sovereignty. Thank you.
Ms. Ross.
My name is Barney Lowe. I'm from District 5, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Citizens for Blount County's Future. I'm a citizen speaking against the new tourism authority that is being voted on tonight. We, the citizens, are only here to pay the bills after the rules are decided for us by the commissioners, letting us know what they think is best for us. I ask that you not vote for this tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Ross.
I'm Carol Ross from District 1. Where will I go? What will I do? The response, frankly, my dear, I don't give a, well, you know the rest. These are the closing lines from the movie Gone with the Wind, but they might well be the words spoken as the Tourism Authority takes property from Blount County property owners in the future. This is not without precedence in Blount County. As we look at the Maryville Building Authority and the Tennessee Valley Authority, these two authorities have in fact used eminent domain to acquire property for monetary gain. The tourism agency continues to say that it already exists and nothing will change except that the board will expand. Let's see if this is really true. Do they currently have eminent domain? No. They will. That's change one. Can they currently borrow money? No. The county must currently borrow it for them. They will acquire this power. That's change two. Can they accept government grants without permission? No. They get this privilege too. Change three. Currently, you approve the agency's budget. You will have no control over the authority's budget. That's change four. Will this commission have oversight for the actions and activities of the authority as you now do with the tourism board? No. Change five. The current agency's records are available to the public. With the authority, this will not be the case. Change six. That's 6 changes in addition to the board changes. There are many more. Projects are not required to be connected with tourism, so I question why its name even includes tourism except as a distractor. The $1 million in debt is being used as a lure. Very tempting. It is possible to reel many of you in, but this is less than 0.5% of the county's total debt. And what are you giving up in exchange for it? If you vote yes on this resolution tonight, remember this fact throughout your life. In a symbolic sense, you agreed to accept 30 pieces of silver in exchange for the slavery of the people of Blount County. Thank you.
Mr. Grothjohn. Mr. Grothjohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Harry Grothjohn, and I'm from the 9th District. The issue of this authority has been well spoken of by Mrs. Ross, and I endorse her position, and I hope that you all would recognize that there's a principle in law called the learned intermediary principle. It's sometimes used in political campaigns to hold people accountable once they've been informed as to the consequences of their decision. I think the consequences of the research that these citizens have done is quite clear, Mr. Chairman. We've been running this story, quoting Commissioner Lambert's remarks on the radio show she did with me a week ago Tuesday, saying that Agenda 21 is the most serious threat to America in her lifetime. And what these citizens have done have pointed out the connection between this authority and its role as a non-governmental organization to use that governmental authority to take private property owners' rights that are not available to this agency at the time. So I hope that you will recognize the serious nature of the vote that you're about to cast tonight, Mr. Chairman, and reflect on perhaps needing to further examine the matter before you are held accountable for the action that you take. Thank you very much for your prayerful consideration of defending our God-given rights.
Mr. Beatty.
Hi, I'm Rick Beatty, District 3. I'm not going to read the paper to you. Okay, I want to watch the clock there. Thank you for hearing me. It's a tough act to follow, these folks. As Mr. Grothjohn said, they apparently are very well researched, and I think they truly believe what they've said. On the other side, I've talked to people in the newspaper business. I've talked to other citizens. I've talked to even members of this commission. And I hear other viewpoints that are very compelling. And I've just recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, moved back here to Maryville. Really looking forward to it, and quite frankly, not to get off the subject of the agenda, because what I wanted to mention basically is both the ask you all in regard to your vote, not only for Agenda 21, but this tourist thing agency, is that it seems to me like there's a lot of confusion. Not to demean anyone, there's certainly disagreement, if not confusion. And I guess I would just say it's really disconcerting to come back, have such great fond memories and expectations of Blount County, and to see our citizenry and our commissioners at odds with each other, and apparently a lot of distrust. And I know probably nobody really wants that. We want a citizenry that trusts their elected folks, and we want elected folks who trust the citizenry and think they're being appreciated. And so all I would say is that, you know, I've even heard that this is no longer a private act, but it is Tennessee law is exempt of the city of Memphis only, and everybody else is under that act, and it's been signed by the governor. I'm not sure the citizens know that, and I guess all I would say is that, you know, if it is possible, if it's not absolutely urgent, that if there is any things that you all are not sure of and would be willing to consult with citizens and others about it to make sure before you make your vote tonight, I think that would be worthwhile, and it would build rapport and trust between all of us in Blount County in the future, and hopefully lead to a better situation here. But thank you all very much for your service, and I do thank also the citizens for their participation. Thank you.
Mr. Deere.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Brett Durr from the 8th District. Tonight, for item F4, I'd like to personally thank Commissioner Lambert for bringing that forth to this commission for the resolution against Agenda 21, and hope all of you will support it with a vote of yes. On item F5, I am highly opposed to the Tourism Authority, and hope that all of you will vote no on this. I think we should cut our losses right now in this bureaucracy before it starts. And if this authority wants to exist, then they can convene it as a private, non-government funded, non-tax funded entity. And if they need money to operate, they can do like the Blount County Rescue Squad and go door to door and ask for donations. If you haven't read all the details on this authority, or if you don't understand it completely, then for sure vote no on this issue. I agree with all the comments already raised by Tana Monroe and Carol Ross, and I implore you to vote no on this issue. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Miller.
Good evening. I'm Karen Miller, and I reside in District 4. And I would like to urge you to please vote no against this Tourism Development Authority. Blount County does not need it. As a matter of fact, the state doesn't need it. And the decisions you make tonight are going to affect other communities in the state. And it's very, very serious, and it's very, very fascist to have this organization. I'd like to remind you of what this act includes. Only 3 of 10 directors of the authority are elected officials. Once this authority is launched, it will be out of the control of elected officials. The act says there will be 10 members of the board of directors. Why are there 10 directors needed to manage the work of about 7 people? The act provides for 2 directors, each from Maryville, Alcoa, and Townsend. What if hotels locate in Louisville, Roxford, Friendsville, or the county at large? This law prevents any possibility of them having representation on this board. The last time I looked, taxation without representation was not real popular. The Act provides for 6-year terms for directors. 4 years is good enough for a president. Why not for these directors? In fact, the terms are not even 6 years, since they get to serve until a successor is appointed, no matter how long it takes. Why this strange setup? This Act says that the Open Meetings Law applies to this authority, but Section 12 of the Act seems to violate the Open Meetings Law by permitting meetings to be conducted by any means of communication by which all directors participating may simultaneously hear each other. No provision is made for the public. The Act allows this authority to float fixed or variable rate bonds for up to 40 years without any limitations, based on the life of the asset. This is part of the reason the county got into debt and the trouble. This also violates our proposed county debt policy. The larger question here is what motivated a commission made up entirely of people who claim to be Republicans to approve a major expansion of county government. Why did they approve this expansion without even stating the goals and objectives of this new authority? Our business owners and citizens are likely to wake up in a few years to find that we have a new bureaucracy paying an executive director $405,000 per year, just like the citizens of Knox County recently discovered. I urge you to please vote no. The characteristics of fascism: rampant cronyism and corruption. Fascist regimes almost always are governed by groups of friends and associates who appoint each other to government positions and use governmental power and authority to protect their friends from accountability. It is not uncommon in fascist regimes for national resources and even treasures to be appropriated or even outright stolen by government leaders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Martini.
Good evening. My name is Deanne Martini, and a resident of Blount County in District 4, and I've resided here for about 1.5 years, kind of new to all that's going on here, but finding some really shocking thing that's going on in the government in Blount County. I would like to first thank Commissioners Peggy Lambert and Kenneth Melton for proposing the resolution exposing United Nations Agenda 21. I would also like to declare that I'm in total agreement with this resolution, because every word of this resolution is the truth, and that it is a much abbreviated version of a gigantic global agenda. It has been insidiously veiled to represent environmental concern, but has deeper roots that affect the liberties and constitutional rights of American citizens that are supposed to be protected by oath under our elected representatives. I appreciated Commissioner Lambert's statement made recently that she considered this the most serious threat to America that she's ever seen in her lifetime, and I agree with those sentiments. And if you truly study the United Nations Agenda 21 proposals, it's all in black and white, and you will come to the same conclusion. The sovereignty as a nation is being circumvented by Agenda 21. And I can inform you that the Stop Agenda 21 programs are being confronted in cities across America. And so far, 600 cities that implemented Agenda 21 programs have been overturned because they are unconstitutional. I am respectfully asking for all commissioners to seriously consider their responsibilities to represent the constitutional rights of their constituents and vote yes to pass the resolution exposing United Nations Agenda 21. The second serious issue I would like to comment on is the private act relating to hotel motel taxes and a tourism board, and approving the creation of a tourism development authority. I read the large print on the 2-page resolution that was presented, and I also read the fine print in the 16-page legislative bill with amendments. And I have found a lot of conflicts of interest. And I believe this appropriation, this resolution appropriates conflicts of issues and interests as usual, and opportunities for government waste of tax revenue in the hands of unelected representatives in establishing this Tourism Development Authority. It is stated in item 4 of the resolution that the Board of the County Commissioners, along with each of the other governments creating the authority, indicates its willingness to appropriate sufficient funds if necessary to provide for the initial administration of this authority. And then also the last sentence states in bold letters, no such funds shall be necessary in this case. But there are other provisions in the legislative bill that are contrary to this. In item 4, it just provides a loophole to implement these funds on the issue, and there's no guarantee that tax revenues will not be used if...
Ma'am, thank you. Thank you. Time's expired. Mr. Monarch.
Good evening. My name is Ken Monar. I'm District 5. I don't think I can elaborate any more on the details of the remarks are made, but I would like to discuss items 4 and 5, the United Nations agenda, and request that you all strongly consider its approval. And with respect to item 5, the resolution to approve a private act for the hotel motel tax and the creation of a tourism development authority. I wonder in what matters of detail such private acts are required in such an event that these matters can't be handled through the regular electoral process of putting these matters before the people and requesting input and designing a peculiar or particular case that may fit the bill for your own county instead of trying to put a stamp on something like this private act. And where does the authority, such as a TVA authority, where does this term that creeps into our government come from? Well, the authority in government is the people, and it's based on the foundation of this country and its religious beliefs. Initially structured of the authority was God, and then it went to the people, and then through the various officials and judges that they may guide us wisely and inform us about these matters. So it seems like a matter of expediency, and I would like to tie that together in the remaining time about which all these kind of authorities and directives are going with respect to kind of a philosophical bent. And I'm going to tie this in a weird way with what's happening with an Obama proposal to really reach out into school and put a lot of monies into schools regarding of something called STEM. Well, for a long time, educators knew about how to educate and knew about how to basics. Now, both with respect to these authorities and planned thinking, the idea is because we all know these things so well, we're just going to decide and get the authorities to decide. But the problem with education, as well as such authorities, the connection is that we don't know what tomorrow is going to be. There may be some catastrophes which may totally change the landscape that you're operating in. And in this particular case, the landscape of the past is the power structure related to the growth regime. That has been singular in the past because we were a young country and just developing, and everybody wants to do things the same way because that's the status quo. But what's the future? The future isn't there. The demographics are moving in the opposite direction. If you're on the East Coast, it's finished. If you're in here, this region of the country, there's more to go, but there will be a terminus that's in sight already. And other part of the countries are much more open. So I just want to say that this idea of central planning is connected to both.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, I apologize if you'll give your name when you come up. Kim? Yes, I'm sorry.
Saying how angry I am that I'm here. I should not even be here. You should not even be debating on this. I mean, it's just... I've got 2 grandsons and a niece that are playing baseball tonight, and I have to miss them to be here because they're commissioners. They're not capable of making, decisions on their behalf. Mine, Jim Foltz, thank you for everything. I never have to worry about you. I want to say thanks to Peggy for the Agenda 21 legislation. I just hope you guys vote yes on that. Seems like this bunch that was kicked out of Knoxville, they've jumped the fence over here. And you guys are even debating on getting these people in. They just kicked them out in Knoxville. I mean, good grief. It's the same bunch, just a different name. I mean, they're doing the same thing. You know, vote no on that. Come on.
Okay, moving on to agenda items D and E. We have no business. So next order of business is agenda item F1A. It's a request for a budget transfer for the library in the amount of $25,000. Is there a motion? Commissioner Samples, seconded by Commissioner Harrison. The motion is to approve the budget transfer for the library. Discussion? Members ready for the question? The pending motion is to approve budget transfer for the library. Vote yes to approve. Vote no not to approve. Commissioner Burkhalter?
With 18 yeses.
18 yes, 0 no. The budget transfer is approved. Next item of business is agenda item F1B, budget transfer for the Highway Department. Chair will stand for a motion.
So moved.
Burkhalter, Mr. Lael. The motion is to approve budget transfer for $35,650 for the Highway Department. Discussion. Vote yes to approve the budget transfer. Vote no not to approve. One moment.
With 18 yeses.
18 yeses, 0 no. The budget transfer is approved. The next item of business is agenda item F2A, a resolution. Excuse me. Yes, F2A, resolution number 1205002, resolution to amend the general purpose fund budget of the school system by $32,000. Is there a motion? Mr. Helton, Mr. Carver. The motion is to adopt resolution 1205-002. Discussion. Mr. Folks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just have a quick question on this. Is this all related to the new Prospect School, or is this funding for problems at other schools?
One moment.
This is not Prospect.
Mr. Logan, you're recognized.
This would be at Heritage Middle School, Porter, Eagleton Elementary, those schools.
Okay, thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to adopt resolution 1205-002. Vote yes to adopt. Vote no not to adopt.
With 18 yeses.
18 yes, 0 no. The resolution is adopted. Next item of business is agenda item F2B. Chair will stand for motion on F2B, resolution number 1205-011, resolution to amend the general purpose school fund budget by $3,532. Burkhalter and is it Gamble? The motion is to adopt resolution 1205-011. Discussion. Mr. French. Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to adopt resolution number 1205-011. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 18 yeses.
18 yes, 0 no's. The resolution is adopted. Next item of business is agenda item F2C. Chair will stand for a motion on item F2C, resolution 1205-012, resolution to amend the general county fund budget by $720,170.40. Mr. Sample moves. Mr. Burkhalter seconds. The motion is to adopt resolution 12-05-012. Discussion. Mr. Burkhalter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if I could direct a question to Mr. Vineyard.
State your question, sir.
Just clarification that this $720,000 is a repayment back of money that we've already paid out. So this is not new revenue, but is just the return of interest that we paid out earlier. And the second part of that question with clarification, Mr. Chairman, would be that this is going to be an ongoing yearly expense while we have this Q-SCAP. So every year we'll be reappropriating back $720,000 of money we've already spent out. So it's not going to be a new item every year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vineyard, you recognize.
The answer is yes to both questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lael.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Could I direct a question to Mr. Vineyard
or the mayor?
At the end of this transaction, should it pass, what will be the status of our general fund account here in General County?
Just a moment. Mr. Vineyard.
You are reducing the current general fund balance by $720,000, and you are increasing the debt service fund balance by $720,000.
And what would be the, if I may, Mr. Chairman, what would that leave us in the general fund balance at this point? Snapshot.
Mr. Vineyard, just a second, I'll recognize.
You will be in excess of $5 million undesignated or unassigned in the general fund, and you'll be in excess of $12 million in the debt service fund.
Thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to adopt Resolution 12-05-012. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 18 yeses.
18 yes, 0 no. The resolution is adopted. Next item is F2D. Chair will stand for motion on item F2D, Resolution 1205-009, resolution to amend the general county fund budget by $740. Mr. Lael. Second was Mr. Helton. The motion is to adopt Resolution 12-05-009. Discussion. Members ready for the question? Pending motion is to adopt the resolution 1205-009. Please vote yes to adopt, vote no not to adopt.
You have 18 yeses and 0 no's.
The resolution is adopted. Next item of business is item F2E. The chair will stand for a motion on F2E, resolution 12-05-010, Resolution to amend the general purpose school fund budget by $250,000. Mr. Burkhalter, I believe Mr. Carver on that. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1205-010. Discussion. Mr. Folks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item provides a budget increase of $250,000 to make a major upgrade to the school computer network switches for the entire school system. Since the Agenda Committee, we have discussed this proposal at the Education Committee and in a meeting with Mr. Dalton and his technical staff. The immediate problem in the schools is that when large online tests like the Discovery Series are given to students, it can take minutes for a new screen to come up. Needless to say, this is very disruptive to the testing process. The kids start to think the test is over, they turn their attention to other things, and the teachers have to spend time getting everybody back on track. Not a good thing in the middle of a major test. It turns out that this proposal to replace the switches will not solve this immediate problem. In the judgment of the school technical staff, the link between the school central office and the internet is currently choking the performance of the network. In our meetings, they recommended doubling the speed of this link from 75 megabits to 150 megabits. Mr. Dalton sent me an email indicating that the it's actually almost $18,000 cost of this faster link will now be included in the budget. It is likely that the speed of this service will have to be further upgraded in the next year or two. The technical staff also indicated that some computers are slow in the schools because they are running two different antivirus programs simultaneously. This is a well-known performance killer in the computer industry. My understanding is that the technical staff of the schools plans to remove these unnecessary virus programs from these computers over the summer. And this is not a trivial exercise because the school has about 7,000 computers. The switch proposal that's in front of us is aimed at solving a longer-term problem. As the state adds more internet-based testing, some levels of the switching systems in the schools will likely become new performance bottlenecks. This proposal will upgrade the school network with state-of-the-art switching, switching system that will provide the capabilities the schools will likely need over the next 5 to 10 years. It will provide great flexibility to handle a wide variety of potential mixes of voice, video, data, and security information. While I might pursue this network upgrade a bit more slowly, I do not doubt the long-term need for such a solution, and I support it. The proposed list of switching equipment that accompanies this proposal specifies Hewlett-Packard as the vendor. Since highly similar equipment is available from other vendors, I suggest that we are likely to get a far better deal on this equipment if we eliminate any mention of a vendor in the forthcoming request for bid. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are the members ready for the question?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that line be closed right there in the back?
You may.
Thank you, Randy.
The pending motion is to adopt Resolution 12-05-010. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt. Mr. Clerk, report the vote.
17 yeses, 0 noes, and 4 absent.
The resolution's adopted. Next item of business is agenda item F3. Chair will stand for a motion on F3, Resolution 12-05-007, a resolution authorizing the submission of an application of a litter and trash collection grant. Farmer Samples, excuse me. Okay. The motion is to adopt resolution number 12-05-007. Discussion. Are the members ready for the question? Pending motion is to adopt resolution 12-05-007. Vote yes to adopt. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 17 yeses.
17 yes and 4 absent. Resolution is adopted. Next item of business is agenda item F4. The chair will stand for a motion on item F4, resolution 12-05-006. Mr. French moves. Mr. Burkhalter seconds. The motion is to adopt resolution 12-05-006, resolution exposing United Nations Agenda 21. Discussion. The members ready for the question. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 16 yeses, 1 no.
16 yes, 1 no. The resolution is adopted. Next item of business is F5. The chair will stand for motion on F5, resolution 12-05-008. Mr. Burkhalter moves. Mr. Helton seconds. Discussion. Mr. French, you're recognized.
I just have one question. If I can find my spot, I've lost my place. But under section 4, I'm sorry, I've got to find my spot. I hit the wrong button on the computer. It grants the authority to the Tourism Board. It's section 4A, subtitle A, subtitle 2. It says acquire, and I've read this thing 3 times. I read it a month ago, I read it last week, and I read it this afternoon again, and I guess I just missed this. But it says acquire whether by purchase, construction, exchange, gift, lease, or otherwise. And I'm curious what that otherwise means. And it states for the purpose of maintaining one or more projects, which projects shall be within the jurisdictional boundaries of the governmental entities establishing the authority. I'm just curious what otherwise means.
Mr. Maninoff, are you here this evening? Would you come forward, sir? If you'll introduce yourself to the body, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Mark Mamontoff. I'm an attorney with Bassberry and Sims. I was asked to assist with drafting some of these statutes.
Just a moment, sir. Mr. French, would you like to restate your question?
In Section 4A2,
yes, sir, it
states that this authority can acquire by various means for the design of repair, equip, furnish, operate, and maintain one or more projects, which shall be within the jurisdictional boundaries of governmental entities establishing the authority. Now, my understanding is, as a governmental entity that established this authority, Blount County, Maryville, and Alcoa, they have the power of eminent domain. What does otherwise mean in this? It kind of scares me, but
it was intended to be a catch-all provision if there was any other possible means of them having property contributed to them. I know I've heard the discussions about whether there was a concern whether that was meant to give. I assume the question is, was that meant to give the tourism authority eminent domain power in of itself? This language is language that you commonly see in many authority-type statutes in the Tennessee Code, and this language usually after the word otherwise has including by eminent domain. That was specifically taken out of the specific in this case to be clear that that was not the intention that it would have eminent domain. There's a rule of statutory construction in Tennessee that any municipal statute of this nature would be construed very restrictively, and without the explicit grant of eminent domain, I do not believe that was the intent. And certainly, if I was asked, I would say that they do not have the power to use eminent domain at the authority level. You certainly have the authority to use eminent domain and could exercise that authority and contribute property to the authority, but I do not believe they have the authority on their own.
Well, if that's the case, it would.
Go ahead.
If that's the case, can we add that particular clause to the? I guess we can, since it's.
Yeah, this is a public act. You can't amend. I mean, you all cannot amend that public act. If you would like to express your public sentiment that that's the intent, you certainly could. But this cannot be amended. It's a general state statute.
Mr. French?
All right, I guess as it's stated like this, then I guess otherwise could mean anything, the way I read it.
It could mean a lot of things, but I don't. Yes, I mean, it was not the intent. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mantle.
Sure.
Mr. Folks, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, am bothered a great deal by the otherwise. And a few years from now, nobody will care what the intent was. They'll only care what the wording says. And the wording says otherwise. This resolution would create a new tourism authority. Some of the confusion is that it involves both a private act and a state law. There are a lot of problems with this resolution, which I spoke about when we first looked at it. This resolution does not include any specific goals and objectives for this new bureaucracy. Now, when you launch a new government agency without goals and objectives, I submit that you may be cruising for trouble. The resolution creates a 10-member board. Unfortunately, only one member has to be an elected official. Once launched, this body will operate outside the control of elected officials. The board will have representatives of the Chamber, Maryville and Alcoa and Townsend, but it provides for no representatives for other areas of the county. The resolution gives the board control of the tourism tax, as well as the power to borrow money for up to 40 years. And apparently, through the great otherwise, eminent domain. Creating an unelected bureaucracy with a 10-member board and all these powers to manage a staff of about 7 people doesn't make a lot of common sense. The fact that it is being done by an all-Republican commission where we supposedly stand for smaller government makes even less sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Burkhalter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If Mr. Mamontoff can please come back up to the podium, I have a couple of questions just for clarification, if I could ask him directly. Thank you, Mr. Mamontoff, for being here this evening and trying to help us sort through this very popular, but at the same time very confusing statute and legislation. In the private act, it says that we have the authority as the county body to set the tax rate that will be collected and administered by the authority. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Up to a certain limit, yes.
Up to a certain limit. Yes. So if I'm understanding this correctly, annually every July we get to set that rate as this collective body. And if we disapprove of the actions of that board, we could lower that tax rate to 0, thereby defunding them, making them go bankrupt, and then the obligations would fall onto that remaining authority. Is that correct?
I think theoretically that's the right answer, yes.
So we could, through the use of our power of taxation, we could cut off their revenue stream by taking it down to 0. Whatever obligations are still outstanding, we don't have to satisfy or pay. That falls on the tourism authority. We're not held accountable for that, so therefore we can still control, through the use of the dollar, their actions to some extent.
Yes, I mean, yes. I mean, is the quick answer to your question.
The second follow-up I have on that one is, as you explained earlier, when courts look at the interpretation of the statute, do they not go back to the intent of the legislature when deciding this in the court of law?
Yes, I think there are 2 or 3 points there. That is the one that I already mentioned, that statutes like this will be strictly construed so that the power of the authority would be limited. I just do not believe, and what a court would find by implicit reading of the word otherwise, that they have the power of eminent domain. I think also a comparison of this statute with many other similar statutes, when they see that you have the words eminent domain specifically in those other statutes but don't have it here, would be very conclusive proof that there was not to have the intent of eminent domain in this particular case.
Thank you very much. I have no other questions, Chairman.
Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to adopt Resolution 12-05-008. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
Yes, 15 yeses, 2 noes.
15 yes, 2 noes. The resolution is adopted. Moving on to agenda item G, announcements and statements. Call the members' attention that there will be a special call budget meeting on Monday the 21st at 5:30 p.m. in room 430 of the Blount County Courthouse. Additionally, the Memorial Day program will be Saturday, May 26th. It begins with a reception at 10 o'clock in the morning and is followed with a formal program that begins at 11. Are there any other announcements that need to be made? Seeing none, we'll move to item H, public input on items not on the agenda. Ms. King, Ms. Miller. Ms. King, if you'd please come forward. Okay. Mr. Bailey. Just a moment. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Linda King with Citizens for Blount County's Future. I'd like to discuss several items in the sheriff's budget. First, as I asked at the budget workshop, why are we paying overtime to have officers at every county meeting? It should be a time for cutting spending, not adding. And I haven't heard of any threats of terrorism. Secondly, did you all notice the $700,000 for new vehicles this year in his budget? We should have known it after the sheriff agreed not to buy any cars last year, but this is totally outrageous. Next, while we have people losing their homes to foreclosure, the sheriff has obtained an architectural design for a 2-story, 4-stall horse barn, complete with office and restroom for his department. The bid deadline is May 22nd, and he'd like it completed quickly, as soon as August 6th. It's quite nice. Wish I could afford to have one built on my property, but then again, I can't tap the taxpayers for the expense. Lastly, we've all heard about the GSA's exorbitant adventure in Las Vegas. Well, it looks like we're trying to follow suit in Blount County. Our sheriff and 3 of his closest cohorts attended a 4-day conference in Mobile, Alabama at a cost of over $6,000 to the taxpayers. Except for the hotel, there were no actual receipts, just maximum per diem rates of $51 per day presented for payment. The figures show the taxpayers paid for dinner on an evening when a banquet was included in the conference cost. We also paid for breakfast when the hotel offered continental breakfast each morning. The sheriff is asking for another raise in his budget this year. When you hear facts like this, how can you possibly consider allowing his uncontrolled excessive spending? I have copies of the horse barn drawings and copies of the Alabama trip, if you'd like to see the facts for yourself, if you even care. Thank you.
Ms. Miller.
I neglected when I was up here earlier to thank Peggy Lambert for what she did for us in this community, and I'd like to thank each one of you for supporting the Agenda 21 resolution. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Fultz and for Mr. French for doing the right thing of voting against the Tourism Authority. And I say shame on you for voting in fascism into this county that can be spread throughout this state. And I pray that you'll just study this issue and realize the awful mistake that you've made this evening, and may God forgive you.
Mr. Beatty.
I didn't plan to speak at all tonight, but since I'm here, I might as well speak twice. I feel like the lady who said she didn't feel like she shouldn't be here at all. I think in my case, I should be here because I have a responsibility as a citizen to try to become aware and to be a part of the government actions in this county. I will say that I am continuing, as others who have talked with me would tell you, to become quite, well, I could say disappointed, I could say discouraged as to the political atmosphere and exchanges in this county. It's just a little citizen feedback I'll give you. I've tried to become informed in various ways. I could do more. Quite frankly, I can see why people get discouraged. I would just ask that you all, from your point of view, look on the citizenry, as inept as people like me may be in speaking, etc. It is my county as well as everybody else's, and we need to live in this county together and get along. We're going to have, it's hard to believe, but we're going to have more problems, I think, worse off than what we're dealing with now. And I don't see that we're dealing with them very well. I see a citizenry that the ones that care will take an opposite viewpoint of almost everybody on the council, and it's hard to tell. I know you all care, but it's hard to tell that most of you all care, because I've sat through a number of your meetings over the last 3 months. That's not a lot, and most of you don't make any comments to the public. So if there is an argument to be made on the behalf of what you all know and believe, even a 5-minute summation once in a while as to why you all believe what you believe, might help to calm down the feeling, I think, between the citizenry that there's some conflict. It's us against you, or you all against us. I just implore you, we're in this together. Our country is in trouble, and this county is in trouble. And if we don't trust each other, we're really in deep yogurt. But thank you all for your efforts on our behalf.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hasty. Commissioner Folks, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to reinforce the outrage over this horse barn for the sheriff and this junket down to Mobile, Alabama. I think it's an outrage in the current fiscal environment, and we need to tighten up. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hasty.
Oh, I don't want to say.
Your likeness. Yep. Having completed all items on the agenda, the chair will stand for a motion to adjourn. Second. Stand adjourned.